let me take the discussion forward, Prathmesh. I would specifically want you, if there were certain areas whereby you emphasized more when it comes to paper 2. Were there certain areas which you feel are more important, or where you emphasize a little more because of the nature of the topic, whether it is difficult, so you emphasized more, it is easier, so you went ahead? Were there such kinds of topics, and how did you give, what kind of a distribution of your effort and your time was with respect to these kinds of topics?
So definitely there are some topics on which the questions are repetitively asked every year in one form or the other. For example, there is this question that I mentioned about trends, or this related to globalization and terrorism and these topics. Now there is at least one 10 marker there about all these topics. So if we make this, if we prepare these topics thoroughly, then we can answer 110 marker for sure.
Okay.
Whatever kind of question it is. So these are the topics which we tend to ignore normally because we have some information about them, but we should not. Now, what about the topics that we should focus more upon? First is theory part. We should be very thorough with the theory, because if you understand the theory portion properly, then only we can relate it to the India and world part. That is paper 2 section 2 part. For example, India and US relations. Or let us say in theories, we have learned about game theory, we have learned about billiards ball model, or let us say cobweb model. So if we are able to relate those theory portions to the current affairs, or let us say to the dynamic portion of the paper 2, then it leaves a lasting impact on the examiner also. For example, if I would be checking the paper and there is some candidate who has mentioned about dilemmas in India-China's relations now, for example, or given a mention of game theory in India-China relations related to Arunachal, I might not be very accurate with my explanation here, but I think the student should understand what I am trying to say.
Right.
So this type of linkages, if are made in the paper 2, then it gives a lasting impact. And for that, we should be very thorough with our theory part.
Choice. Right.
Yes.
So, for example, let's say we talk about liberal institutionalism, and then we can relate it to, let's say, the decline of UN per se, and how we have to revive UN. Yes. And then the complex interdependence can come into picture in India-China relations as well.
Yes,
so all these kinds of interlinkages. So you deliberately included it in your answers final day. You were able to.
Yes, and it was not deliberate. It came naturally, sir. It came naturally because there are some points in our exam when we are lacking information related to that question. For example, what happens? We do not have there is fixed space mark sheet, a fixed space answer sheet is given. So the point is that we do not have to leave a lot of paper blank. Like that used to be my mindset. And at this point of time, theory came in handy, because almost there is theory that I can relate to almost every part of the subject in paper 2 section 2. There is some theory that I can relate. For example, India, Latin America also I can relate some theory. Any obscure nation also I can relate that theory. Or let us say this BIMSTEC and BBI and these are coming. That is the point I'm trying to make, is that while preparing itself, try to make these linkages in your notebook.
Right.
So that you are not left unprepared when we go to take.